Today I'll be adding adaptive cruise control to my 2021 Ford F150 XL. This is the base model. First to go over what we'll need. This is the cruise control module itself. There's the part number. This gets installed on the bumper just behind this trim piece, which can be removed with something like this, but we'll almost certainly have to actually remove the bumper to actually install. It'll get installed using these three M61 25mm length stainless steel bolts. The Ford part number is a black oxide. I got these from the hardware store, as well as my blue thread locker. They will get installed here. 1, 2, 3. And then I will need to build my custom harness with this pigtail. This is a Ford pigtail. It's used in a couple different applications on the truck. Has 8 wires. We only need in this application these 4 green ones, pins 1, 2, 3, and 4. It gets installed right here. And that custom harness runs from that cruise control module from the bumper up to the IPMA module that's installed just inside of here that you can access the connector by pulling this trim piece. The IPMA connector does not yet have the wires populated. This is a kit, Ford part number, with the pins already crimped to the wire for the 1, 2, 3, 4 pins that we'll need to add. Pins 9, 18, 19, and 20. I'll be using this 18 gauge speaker wire 2 conductor. I'll need 2 in total to get 4. I can do as small as a 22 gauge. I already had this on hand, so this is what I'm going to use to go from the CCM to the IPMA. Once all of that is done, I'll use my ELM327 to program certain variables with Forscan to be able to activate. I also have the steering wheel switch on its way. It'll be here later today. When I have it, I'll show you that. That'll put another button right here for the distance following. This is not required to activate the adaptive cruise control, but it is required if you want to be able to adjust your distance setting. Before working on any electrical, I'm going to disconnect my negative battery terminal with a 10mm socket. To access the IPMA connector, simply get my fingers under here, work them up carefully, pull these clips, and pull that trim piece out. Access the IPMA connector. I'm going to come underneath. You see my IPMA right here. And I'm going to come through up top where I just pulled that trim piece. Pull this, come on, push this down, pull the connector out, come up here. You see I've got my connector here. You'll notice very few wires here. And if I come in close, you should be able to see the callouts. Pins 9, top right, 18, 19, 20, bottom right. To install these pins to the connector, just look at how the pins are oriented already. If you need to pull this white plastic piece off, you can just get a nail underneath here and on the other side, and it'll pop off pretty easily. In order to be able to see how the pin is oriented, match that same orientation, and then you simply slip the pin in through the back side and gently push it in until you feel a click of the detent. Now that I've got all 4 installed, I'm going to get a little piece of electrical tape and I'm going to mark each end of these so I know which pin they're for. I've got all my wires crimped, got my 2 18 gauge cables with 2 conductors each crimped into the 4 wires here. So now I'll get my heat shrink shrunk up, and then I'll feed these wires through here and button this part up right here. Alright, I finished that up. I fed my wires through, got them down here, coiled out. I'm going to put the trim piece back on. Okay, to route the wires, we're going to route through this grommet right here. We've got to cut this zip tie, and there's a zip tie on the other side in the engine bay that we got to cut. Alright, in the engine bay, right there. There's the other side of the grommet, and there's a zip tie right there that we got to cut in order to be able to get through this. Right, I now have the cables routed, so you can see the green wires there coming out of the connector. goes up and around and comes down. I fed it through, got it zip tied, fed through into the engine bay, zip tied where it makes sense, primarily along this harness that runs through here. A couple of zip ties I need to snip through, down and around to near where it needs to come out. And I'm going to pop this cover off and bring the wires through here, and then I will install the pigtail on the end. Pigtail is now installed. Each wire is labeled with the pin at the IPMA and the pin at the CCM. Used solder sleeves here to splice them together. And I kept the blue wires in, just bundled them up, capped them off. My replacement button cluster has come this afternoon. You'll notice this button right here for the distance following, and it's not on this one. We got to swap this in. You'll notice I have my wheel turned. This is with battery disconnected. There is an access hole back here, and then another one on the other side. I'll need to turn the wheel, and I'll need to turn that without power, so it's going to be a little bit of some force there. Get something in there to push down. It'll unlatch what's holding the airbag on here on this side. Do the same thing on this side. I'll be able to pull this out, and then there's connectors in here that I'll show you once I get to that point. Let me show you how to get the airbag off here, because I found it was a little trickier than, well, it wasn't really all that tricky. I just needed to find the right spot. You'll notice the way that I am right now, I'm not engaging on anything. I need to back off and make sure I catch that very top edge of that access hole right there. Now I've got it. Oh, maybe. Right there. Okay, now I can pull that down. You'll notice that just popped out right there. So I got one side. Now I turn the steering wheel and get the other side. It doesn't take a lot of force at all. Alright, the airbag has 3 connectors. You'll see this yellow one, this blue and yellow one. Each has a little orange tab on it, and this red one. This red one, if I get closer, you'll see it has this tab here. So you'll need to get a screwdriver or something to pry that up just a bit so that it'll come apart. And then these, you'll notice this orange tab here. If I were to push down on that, that's what actually locks these into the airbag. So first, in order to remove them, you actually got a screwdriver flathead underneath this, pried it up. Doesn't take a lot of force. Once you get the orange tab up, then you get underneath the body of it here and pry it up. These go, you'll see here on the airbag, the red connector there, and then the color-coded blue and yellow. And they're such that they'll only go in one orientation. They're poka-yoked. Now remember, this is an airbag, so be careful with it. It's not electrically connected, so it should be fine. Just don't drop it or do anything stupid with it. Now that we're to this point, we have 1, 2 bolts here to take out, so I can pull this cover off. Alright, with those 2 screws removed, there's a bunch of clips on this back side here. This portion came off fairly easily. Right here, had to pry in this region, in this region, in order to get these clips on the back side to release. Doesn't take a lot of force. Be careful, don't pry too hard if you're going to break these down here. We've got a connector on either side going to this cluster and this cluster. This is the cluster that we're going to be replacing, so I need to pull this connector right here. To pull that connector out, on this back side you'll see right here a little tab. Push down, it'll slide right out. And to get the button cluster off, you'll notice 1, 2, 3 little screws here that need to get pulled. Alright, these little screws were smaller than I expected, so I had to get my little screwdriver set out. It is a T8 Torx drive. So make sure you have that before you bust into this. The cluster is out. Put the new one in. Slides right in, and I'll put those little screws right back in. New button cluster is in. Just need to connect the connector back up and reinstall. Just go reverse here. There we go. Everything back together. Just make sure as you put this in, everything's lined up right. You're not going to pinch any wires or anything. And then gently press it in on either side as if you're beeping the horn, and you'll hear a slight click indicating that you've got the airbag captured back into place. So to remove the bumper, first we actually need to remove not the bumper here, but this trim piece that goes all the way around. To do so, there are two 7mm bolts here, and then two on the other side. The rest of it all the way around is clips. Just make sure you're being gentle as you're prying so that you're not breaking clips, you're not breaking your trim piece. Here's what the clips look like from this trim piece. Once that trim piece is off, we can get the bumper off. To get the bumper off, there are 6 13/16 nuts to take off. I'll show you where that's at. On the left side, you can see that stud right there. 1, 2, 3. Same on the right hand side. Take those off, and you can just pull the bumper off. To simplify this, notice I've braced the bumper as I've pulled it. I have the access I need to now be able to install the cruise control module in the front end. We do have this cable and this cable that are still attached. I'm bracing it, keeping tension off of those. Gonna access through here, get the cruise control module in there, and install. All right, the module is installed. 1, 2, and 3. Got Loctite on it, nice and tight. We are installed. We can put the bumper back. Next, we got to make sure that this is vertical, that it's level. You can take a bubble level to it and check that, or in order to do that, you got to make sure that the ground that you're on is level as well. Or I used my phone, used an app, calibrated to the floor, checked it in a few places just to make sure that I had the right calibration, and then I checked against this. It was a couple of degrees off. Here's your adjustment screw here. Adjusted that to get it into level. It's now perfectly level, and we're now ready to go into Forscan. Okay, this is not going to be an entire tutorial on Forscan. That said, I do want to show you what I've done in Forscan to get my adaptive cruise control and lane centering working. I've saved off a copy of someone else's Forscan library and the changes he made specific to his build for these changes. Living It Up is his username, and he's found on the F150 Gen 14 forum. You'll see his specific changes in column F, and I've documented my changes in column G. You'll see column A shows the specific module and variable each of these changes is for, and you'll also note in column H through K, I've put the description of my was and is conditions. Now, while Forscan can be somewhat intimidating initially, don't be afraid to jump in. I downloaded the software and used my ELM327 to access each of these modules, and after a little bit of time, I had the hang of it. Don't jump in without following a solid tutorial first. Living It Up himself has a good tutorial on the F150 Gen 14 forum. Now, every build is different, so the changes Living It Up made are not the same changes I made, and are likely not the exact same changes you'll need to make. To figure out what you need for your build, you'll want to reference the full library for each module and validate your as-built condition in Forscan, and then select the equivalent for your new condition that activates or enables the specific feature you need within the specific variable. I've now been driving my truck with the modification for over a week, and both the adaptive cruise control and lane centering are working extremely well, and I'm very pleased with the results. I'm now looking forward to my next mods, which are to add the blind spot information system as well as the 360-degree cameras. Good luck, have fun with your mod, and see you on the next one.